The night sky above Earth was calm at first. Stars shined in their usual places, and the moon was soft and bright. People were busy in their daily lives, some watching TV, some eating dinner, some scrolling on their phones. Nobody knew that this night was about to change the future of humanity. Without warning, new lights appeared in the sky, not like stars or planes. These lights were too big, too bright, and they moved with perfect formation. At first, many thought it was a comet or maybe some strange satellite project. Children pointed upward with excitement, while parents felt a strange chill in their chest. Slowly, the world realized this was no natural event. Something powerful had entered Earth's orbit. Within minutes, governments activated emergency systems. Fighter jets scrambled in many countries, but no one dared to fire. The strange objects were massive, far larger than anything built by human hands. The shape of the ships became clear as they moved out of the clouds, dark, metallic, with glowing edges that seemed alive. They floated silently, without wings, without fire, without sound. Fear spread like wildfire. Social media filled with videos, shaky cameras pointed at the skies, captions screaming, "They are here." Some people prayed, some cried, some shouted in anger. Around the globe, leaders gathered in underground bunkers, their faces pale with shock. Military officers gave quick reports, satellites showed hundreds of ships. They were not here for peace. The answer became clear when every device on Earth suddenly stopped working for a moment. Phones, TVs, radios, even power grids flickered off. Then a single image appeared on every screen, every billboard, every device with a screen. It was not human. It was a face, alien and terrifying. Its skin was gray-blue, its eyes deep red, its expression cold and merciless. The voice that followed was not in any human language, but still everyone understood it. It was translated inside their minds, like the words were carved directly into thought. The message was simple, yet heavy with threat. People of Earth, we are the Zorith fleet. You will surrender your world to us. Your weapons are useless. Your defenses are nothing. You will surrender, or you will die. The message repeated 3 times, then the screens turned black again. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Families stared at each other, afraid to breathe. Soldiers stood frozen in their bases, unsure if they should prepare for war or prepare for the end. On news channels, experts tried to speak, but their voices trembled. Some claimed the aliens would enslave humans. Others said they would wipe out all life. Panic spread in the streets. Supermarkets filled with people fighting over food, highways jammed with cars fleeing cities, churches filled with people praying for mercy. Yet in the middle of fear, some eyes burned with anger. Humanity had faced wars, disasters, and endless struggles. The spirit of resistance was alive, even against something impossible. Governments held urgent meetings. Should they respond to the ultimatum? Some leaders wanted to surrender to save lives. Others said surrender meant slavery worse than death. The debate grew louder, but time was slipping away. In the alien ships above, lights grew brighter. It was like they were watching, waiting, counting the seconds. Earth felt like a small animal under the shadow of a giant predator. But even a small animal has teeth. On the ground, soldiers polished their weapons, pilots prepared their jets, and scientists worked silently in labs, searching for weakness. Everyone knew the truth. Earth was unprepared. Humanity was not united. But in that moment of fear, they also knew something else. They had no choice. To surrender meant to lose everything. To fight meant maybe, just maybe, to survive. Hours passed after the broadcast, but the memory of that alien face burned inside every mind. Children asked their parents, "Will they kill us?" And parents had no answer. Old men whispered, "I have seen wars, but never this." And young people clenched their fists, feeling rage instead of fear. In hidden corners of the world, resistance groups started to rise, sending secret messages, "We will not bow." Above them, the alien fleet adjusted positions. One massive ship hovered above New York, another above London, another above Tokyo, and many more above other capitals. Their presence was like a hammer waiting to fall. The world could almost hear their silent threat. As midnight turned into dawn, the ultimatum echoed in every human heart. Surrender, or die. Humanity had only one day to answer. But deep inside, something was awakening. Fear was real, but so was defiance. And the aliens had no idea that the humans they thought weak were far more dangerous than they imagined. The alien ships floated like giant shadows in the sky. Cities below lived under their dark presence, every street filled with fear. People still could not believe that this was real. For centuries, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. That question was answered in one night, and the answer was terrifying. The aliens had not come in peace, they had come to rule. Governments tried to stay calm, but panic was everywhere. News anchors spoke with trembling voices, repeating the same phrase again and again. The aliens have given us 24 hours to surrender or die. Military forces around the world scrambled jets, tanks, and missiles, but no leader truly believed these weapons could match the alien fleet. Satellites showed over 100 massive ships positioned above major cities, each the size of a mountain, and smaller crafts moved like insects around them. It was as if Earth was already under occupation. In Washington, the president sat with generals and advisors in an underground bunker. The room was filled with maps, screens, and nervous faces. A general slammed his fist on the table and said that humanity must resist no matter the cost. An advisor warned that fighting could cause mass destruction. The president listened but gave no answer yet. The same scenes repeated in Moscow, Beijing, London, and other capitals. Leaders argued, some shouting, some whispering, all terrified of making the wrong decision. The aliens did not wait long to show their power. Without firing a shot, they disabled communication satellites across orbit. Phones lost signals, television channels went blank, internet cables went silent. For 1 full hour, Earth was cut off from itself. No nation could speak to another, no command center could reach its soldiers. It was a silent warning, showing how weak human technology was compared to alien control. When the signals returned, every screen again showed the alien face. Cold red eyes stared at billions of humans. The voice entered their minds without sound, cruel and certain. We have removed your satellites. We can remove your weapons. You cannot resist us. Your leaders must choose. Surrender, and live as servants. Resist, and we will erase your cities. You have 23 hours. Then the transmission ended, and once again silence spread. In the streets of New York, people looked up at the giant ship that floated above the skyline. Its shadow blocked the morning sun, casting darkness over tall buildings. In London, crowds gathered on bridges to see the alien craft hovering above the River Thames. In Tokyo, the giant ship above glowed with strange light, and some believed it was charging weapons. Everywhere, humans felt like ants under the boot of a giant. Fear turned to chaos. In many countries, riots began. People looted stores, desperate to collect food before the end. Highways filled with cars, horns screaming as families tried to flee cities. Some people ran to churches, mosques, and temples, begging their gods for help. Others sat in silence, too shocked to move. Yet in the middle of this chaos, a few voices called for courage. In one secret military base, a young commander named Marcus stood before his soldiers. He told them that humanity had survived against impossible odds before. He reminded them of ancient battles where weaker armies defeated stronger enemies through clever thinking and unbreakable spirit. His words planted a small seed of hope in their hearts. In a hidden science lab, Dr. Elena, a brilliant physicist, studied the alien broadcast signals. She noticed strange patterns, almost like the aliens wanted humans to fear more than fight. She whispered to herself that maybe, just maybe, the aliens were not as invincible as they seemed. Around the world, different groups began forming small resistance cells, sending secret messages through hidden channels. They knew open war was impossible yet, but they also knew surrender meant slavery forever. Above Earth, the aliens continued to show their strength. In South America, one city's power grid shut down completely, leaving millions in darkness. In Europe, alien drones flew low across the skies, scanning humans like cattle. In Africa, a group of jets attempted to fly near a ship, but their engines shut down mid-air, and they crashed before firing a single shot. The aliens wanted Earth to see their weakness, to crush hope before it grew. But something inside humanity refused to die. In homes, families spoke quietly of resistance. Parents told their children that no matter what, humans always fought for freedom. In refugee camps forming outside cities, strangers shared food and swore they would not bow. Across the world, fear and anger mixed together like fire and oil. In the United Nations chamber, where leaders tried to meet through emergency channels, voices grew louder. One leader said surrender was the only way to save billions of lives. Another shouted that surrender meant death of the human spirit. The argument grew, but time was running out. While they argued, the alien face appeared again on all screens. The voice was colder now, sharper, filled with contempt. You still argue. You still delay. You think you have time. You do not. Surrender, and we will spare your children. Resist, and your children will burn. You have 20 hours left. The threat echoed across every mind, leaving silence afterward. Tears filled the eyes of many who imagined the destruction of their children. But the words also sparked anger. Who were these aliens to threaten humanity, to claim Earth as theirs? In the silence of the night, whispers of resistance spread wider. Soldiers shared messages with each other, promising to fight even if orders said otherwise. Scientists pushed harder to decode alien signals. Hackers tried to break into alien broadcasts, even if only for a second. Humanity was frightened, divided, unprepared. Yet inside this storm of fear, one truth remained clear. The ultimatum had been given, the clock was ticking, and the aliens were watching. Above the skies, the fleet adjusted positions again. Strange lights glowed from their ships like beating hearts. On Earth, every person felt the weight of those 20 hours pressing down like a mountain. Some waited for doom. Some prepared for war. And some, though still small in number, began to dream of victory. The aliens believed they had already won. They believed humans would kneel. But deep in the human spirit, something ancient was stirring, something that refused to die. And that was the one thing the aliens had never truly understood. The 24-hour countdown was moving fast, and the fear on Earth was now mixed with confusion and anger. Cities still lay under the shadows of the alien ships, and every person on the planet felt the pressure of the ultimatum in their chest. The aliens had spoken with such certainty that many people believed resistance was hopeless, yet in hidden corners of the world something was changing. The spark of resistance was beginning to glow. In an underground base located deep in the Rocky Mountains, a group of scientists and military officers gathered around a dimly lit table. Their leader, Commander Marcus, stood tall despite the exhaustion on his face. He was young compared to the other generals, but his voice carried strength. He reminded everyone that the aliens had not fired a single weapon yet. They had only threatened, only shown demonstrations of control. Marcus argued that this was not the behavior of an unstoppable enemy, but the behavior of one trying to scare their target into surrender. The scientists nodded, especially Dr. Elena, the physicist who had been analyzing the alien signals. She explained that their broadcast was filled with repeated patterns, almost like the aliens needed human minds to believe in their power before their strategy could work. She compared it to predators in nature that use fear to freeze their prey. They want us to kneel without a fight, she said quietly. The others listened, and though they were afraid, her words lit a new thought. Maybe the aliens were not as strong as they wanted Earth to think. Outside of military bases, in small towns and crowded cities, ordinary people also began to question the aliens' power. A video spread online, despite the aliens' attempts to cut communication, showing a human fighter jet surviving a close pass with one of the alien drones. The drone had disabled the jet systems, but the pilot managed to restart his engine and escape. People cheered at the video, not because it was a huge victory but because it proved humans were not completely helpless. The spark of defiance grew stronger. In abandoned warehouses, resistance groups began forming. Farmers, engineers, students, and old soldiers all joined together, hiding their movements from drones that scanned the streets. They carried whatever weapons they had, but more importantly, they carried determination. They shared one belief: Earth was not to be surrendered without a fight. Meanwhile, the alien fleet adjusted their positions again. Their massive ships floated silently above the capitals, glowing with an eerie light. From inside those ships, alien commanders studied human behavior. They expected total collapse, yet what they saw was confusing. Instead of surrendering in fear, humans were gathering in protest, forming resistance, even laughing in the face of death. The aliens whispered among themselves that humans were unpredictable, dangerous in ways numbers and technology could not measure. The resistance grew bolder as the hours ticked away. In London, a group of hackers managed to break into a local broadcast system. For less than a minute, they replaced the alien face on the screens with a human message: "We are not afraid. We will fight." Though the signal was quickly cut, that 1 minute spread across the world. People repeated the message in whispers, in chants, in songs. The aliens had meant to crush human spirit, but instead they had ignited it. Commander Marcus and Dr. Elena pushed forward with their plan. They had discovered a weakness in the alien communication system, a small delay between their transmissions that suggested their fleet was not perfectly united. It was a small crack, but Marcus believed cracks could grow. He ordered a test. Using old satellites and hidden military channels, they attempted to send interference signals toward one of the smaller alien crafts. To their shock and joy, the interference worked for a moment. The alien drone spun out of control, crashing into the ocean. It was a small victory, but it was real. The resistance celebrated quietly, knowing the aliens would soon realize what happened. And indeed, in orbit, alien commanders grew angry. Their voices echoed across their ships, demanding to know how humans had achieved such a strike. One alien warned that humans adapt too quickly, that this was the very danger their empire had feared. The alien leader silenced him, declaring that fear must be increased. Below, humanity felt both fear and courage burning together. Families still cried in the streets, but now they also whispered stories of the small victory. One of their ships fell, people said. We can fight. This belief was more powerful than any weapon. The 24-hour deadline was now half gone, and the aliens once again appeared on screens. Their red eyes glowed with rage, their voice sharper than before. You dare resist. You dare strike at us. We will make you pay for this insult. But instead of trembling, many humans shouted at the screens, cursing and mocking their enemy. The aliens had wanted obedience, but they had planted defiance. In hidden bases, the resistance grew more organized. Plans were drawn to use the Earth itself as a weapon: storms, terrain, and knowledge of the land. Marcus told his soldiers that humans would never match the aliens in raw power, but they could outthink them, outlast them, and strike where least expected. Dr. Elena and her team worked tirelessly, decoding alien signals line by line. She whispered to Marcus that they were close to discovering more weaknesses. The spark of resistance was no longer just a spark. It was spreading like fire across the world. The aliens could not see it fully yet, but deep inside, they were beginning to sense it. The countdown continued, the threat of destruction still hung above, but the story of humanity was changing. Fear was no longer the only emotion in the air. Now there was defiance, and with defiance came hope. The ultimatum still stood: surrender or die. But for the first time since the aliens had arrived, humanity began to believe there might be a third choice: to resist, to survive, and maybe even to win. The deadline was getting closer, and the alien fleet still waited above Earth like silent predators. The world remained frozen between fear and courage, but now the resistance had grown strong enough to take its first real step. Commander Marcus knew the aliens had the power to crush cities, yet he also knew that if humans only waited, surrender would be forced upon them without a fight. He believed a strike was necessary, even if small, to prove to every human being on Earth that resistance was possible. In the underground base, maps and screens lit up the room as soldiers, hackers, and scientists gathered. Dr. Elena explained their plan in a calm voice, though her hands trembled. They had found a weakness in the alien fleet's communication, a short delay that left their smaller crafts vulnerable. If they could strike fast enough, they could destroy one of the alien scouts. It would not change the war, but it would show that humanity was not powerless. The plan was risky. They had to coordinate fighter jets, ground missiles, and hacked satellites, all in perfect timing, while keeping the aliens from noticing until it was too late. The room fell silent when Marcus asked if everyone understood that failure meant the aliens might retaliate against an entire city. No one backed down. Every soldier in the room chose to go forward. That night, the skies above the Atlantic Ocean were lit with stars, but hiding in the darkness below was a group of fighter jets flying low over the waves. Pilots whispered final words into their radios, their voices steady but filled with tension. On the ground, missile launchers were hidden in forests and deserts, waiting for the command. In orbit, satellites were adjusted secretly, preparing to send disruptive signals. Dr. Elena watched the countdown on her screen, sweat rolling down her forehead. At exactly midnight, the operation began. The satellites fired electronic interference toward one of the alien scout ships hovering near the edge of the fleet. The alien ship flickered, its lights blinking as its systems struggled. In that brief moment of weakness, the fighter jets rose from the ocean like arrows, firing everything they had. Missiles streaked through the night sky, leaving trails of fire behind them. The alien ship reacted too late. Its shields did not fully activate, its movements slowed by the interference. Explosions erupted across its dark surface, shaking the sky with thunder. For the first time since their arrival, the alien fleet suffered a wound. The scout ship burst into flames, spinning wildly before crashing into the ocean with a massive roar. Around the world, humans watching through hidden channels and hacked broadcasts gasped in disbelief. For the first time, they saw an alien ship fall. The silence that followed was broken by cheers, screams of victory, and tears of relief. Humanity had struck back. The victory was small compared to the massive fleet still above, but its effect was greater than any weapon. Across cities, people chanted, shouted, and cried with joy. For a moment, fear was replaced by courage. But the celebration did not last long. High above, the alien commanders reacted with fury. In the giant flagship, red lights flashed as voices filled the command halls. One alien officer shouted that humans had destroyed one of their ships using primitive weapons. Another argued that it was impossible, yet the evidence burned before their eyes. The alien leader's voice cut through the noise with cold anger. If they want war, we will give them fire. The retaliation began swiftly. Across the world, alien ships lowered closer to the cities. In New York, the massive vessel above the skyline opened glowing ports on its underside, releasing waves of smaller drones into the streets. In Tokyo, beams of light carved through the sky as alien weapons burned empty buildings to ashes as a warning. In Africa, entire power plants were shut down, plunging millions into darkness. The aliens wanted humanity to feel the punishment of defiance. Chaos returned as people screamed and fled, but this time the resistance did not crumble. Soldiers and civilians joined together to fight the drones, using rifles, machine guns, even Molotov cocktails. They destroyed some, captured others, and studied them quickly for weaknesses. The aliens were stronger, but humans were relentless. In the underground base, Marcus received reports of destruction but also of bravery. In one town, farmers with hunting rifles had brought down a drone. In another, hackers managed to confuse alien systems with false signals. Humanity was bleeding, but it was also learning. Dr. Elena stared at the data from the fallen scout ship. The readings showed that its technology was advanced, but not perfect. She realized the aliens were not gods. They were powerful, but they could be broken. She told Marcus that every second humanity resisted, they grew smarter and stronger. Marcus nodded and ordered the resistance to prepare for more strikes. The news of the first victory spread faster than the aliens could stop it. Even without the internet, word of mouth, radios, and secret signals carried the story. "We destroyed one of their ships," people repeated. We can fight. The aliens had intended to terrify the humans with retaliation, but instead the humans grew more determined. The spark of resistance was now aflame. Yet danger was far from over. The aliens were preparing for something bigger, a massive strike to crush the spirit of humanity once and for all. In their fleet, the alien leader commanded his soldiers to ready the planet destroyers, weapons powerful enough to erase entire regions. He declared that the humans were not to be underestimated again, that this time they would be taught a lesson that could never be forgotten. On Earth, as dawn broke across war-torn skies, Marcus looked at his weary soldiers and scientists. He told them that the battle had only just begun. The first human strike had changed everything. They had proved to the world that aliens could bleed. They had given humanity something greater than victory. They had given it hope. But hope came with a price. Now the aliens would fight back with full strength. The question that remained was not whether humans would resist, but whether they could survive the storm that was about to fall. The world trembled after the first human strike. For the first time an alien ship had fallen, and for a short while hope spread like fire among the people. But the aliens were not silent. Their pride had been wounded, and their rage was greater than any storm. In the cold depths of their flagship, the alien leader gave the order with a voice that cut like steel: unleash retaliation. Across the skies their massive ships began to move. Cities that had lived under their shadows now watched in horror as the great vessels glowed with deadly light. In New York, the alien ship above the skyline opened its vast underside, releasing waves of burning energy into the air. Windows shattered, buildings cracked, and the streets filled with screams as drones poured down like a swarm of mechanical insects. In Tokyo, the alien ship fired beams that carved through towers, reducing steel and glass to molten ruin. In London, a series of explosions lit the night as power plants were destroyed one by one, throwing millions into darkness. Across Africa, alien weapons silenced entire regions, communication systems fried and water supplies poisoned with strange energy pulses. The aliens did not come to warn this time, they came to punish. Humanity paid the price for daring to resist. Yet even in fire and blood the people of Earth refused to bow. Soldiers fought in the burning streets, rifles raised against drones that rained from the sky. Civilians who had once hidden in fear now grabbed whatever they could to fight back: stones, pipes, even knives. Farmers used tractors to crush smaller drones. Children carried messages through rubble to guide survivors. In one city, a group of firefighters refused to flee, spraying flames on alien drones until they overheated and crashed. In another town, villagers lured drones into narrow alleys and trapped them with explosives. Everywhere the same truth was becoming clear: the aliens could destroy, but humans could adapt. Commander Marcus received endless reports of destruction but also of bravery. He stood in the underground base, his fists clenched as screens showed burning cities. His officers begged him to order a retreat, to hide until the retaliation was over. But Marcus shook his head. Retreat would mean death of the spirit. He knew that humanity's survival depended not only on weapons but on will. He broadcast a secret message through resistance channels: stand your ground. Show them we will never kneel. The message spread, giving courage to the broken and weary. Dr. Elena meanwhile worked tirelessly over alien wreckage collected from destroyed drones. Her team discovered strange circuits and power cores that seemed advanced but not indestructible. She realized the aliens' technology, though powerful, could be hacked and disrupted. With every fallen drone, humanity learned more. The retaliation continued without mercy. In South America, an alien ship vaporized an entire military base in seconds. In Europe, thousands fled underground tunnels while the skies burned. In Asia, alien ships poisoned rivers, cutting off fresh water. The world was drowning in smoke, ash, and fear. But within that chaos something unexpected happened. Resistance forces captured a living alien. The creature had been thrown from its damaged drone and taken alive by a group of soldiers. It was brought secretly to Marcus's base, restrained but still breathing. Its body was tall and thin, its skin gray-blue, its red eyes glowing with hatred but also with fear. When Marcus looked into its eyes he saw something he did not expect: Not pure confidence but uncertainty. Interrogations began. At first the alien refused to speak, but Dr. Elena noticed that its breathing changed whenever humans spoke of victory. She pressed harder, showing it recordings of the fallen scout ship, of destroyed drones, of humans fighting back. Finally the alien spoke, its voice cold but trembling. "You were warned," it said. "Our leaders told us this world was dangerous. We did not believe. Now you show why." Everyone in the room froze. "Dangerous?" Marcus demanded the alien explain. With reluctance the creature revealed a truth that sent chills across the room. The alien empire had conquered many worlds, enslaving countless species, but humans were different. Humans adapted too quickly. They fought with rage and desperation that no other species showed. They used weakness as strength, chaos as strategy, and refused to surrender even when hopeless. The alien admitted that some within their fleet had argued against war with humans. They feared exactly what was happening now, that the war would backfire. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was unpredictable. The revelation shook Marcus and his team. It proved what they had begun to believe. The aliens were powerful, but they were not gods. And more importantly, they were afraid of what humanity could become. Outside the base the retaliation still raged. Cities burned, families wept, soldiers died. Yet everywhere the same fire spread. People whispered of the alien prisoners' words, though the secret was supposed to stay hidden. Somehow the rumor escaped, and soon civilians across the world repeated it. "They fear us." That single phrase turned despair into determination. If the aliens could fear, they could be defeated. The aliens noticed this change. Their retaliation was meant to crush spirit, but instead it hardened it. They grew frustrated, unleashing even greater attacks. Entire neighborhoods were wiped from the map, oceans boiled from plasma strikes, mountains shook with bombardments. But with each act of destruction, more humans chose to fight instead of surrender. Marcus gathered his commanders and told them that survival was no longer enough. Humanity had to prepare for one final, desperate attack. The retaliation had cost billions in suffering, but it had also given them knowledge, courage, and unity. The countdown had long passed, the ultimatum ignored, and now Earth stood on the edge of annihilation. Yet in that moment, Marcus looked at his people and said words that carried across radios and whispers. "We will not only survive, we will make them run." High above, in the alien flagship, the leader of the fleet stared at Earth with silent fury. The retaliation had failed to break humanity. The leader realized too late that every city burned only gave the humans more reason to resist. He whispered to himself, "This world will be our downfall." And though his soldiers did not hear, the truth had already begun to unfold. The world was still burning from the alien retaliation, but in the shadows of ruined cities and broken lands something stronger than fear was growing. Humanity had been tested with fire and blood, and though millions had fallen, the spirit of resistance had not been crushed. In the underground base Commander Marcus stood with Dr. Elena before the captured alien, its body weak but its eyes still glowing red. Soldiers surrounded it, weapons aimed, but the creature did not try to escape. It seemed to know its fate was already sealed. For hours it remained silent, staring coldly at its captors, until Dr. Elena leaned forward and whispered, "You are afraid of us, aren't you?" The alien's breathing grew heavier, its chest rising and falling in strange rhythm. Finally it spoke, its voice deep and metallic, echoing in the small room. "Yes," it admitted. Everyone froze at the word. Fear was not what they had expected from such a powerful enemy. Marcus demanded an explanation, and slowly, the alien revealed the truth. The Zorith Empire, it said, had conquered countless worlds, enslaving races with ease. Most species fell quickly, their spirits broken by fear, their armies destroyed without resistance. But when the Empire's scouts had first studied Earth, some had warned against invasion. Reports described humans as unpredictable, emotional, and dangerous. Unlike other species, humans adapted rapidly to threats. They learned faster under pressure, and they fought even when logic said there was no chance of survival. To the Zorith this made humanity unstable, uncontrollable, and possibly undefeatable. The alien prisoner lowered its head and whispered, "We begged our leaders not to test your world. But they would not listen. They believed fear would break you, as it broke the others. Now they see their mistake." The room filled with silence. Marcus and his team stared at each other, the weight of the revelation pressing down on them. Humanity was not only fighting for survival, it was proving to be exactly what the Empire feared most. Dr. Elena felt her heart race. If the aliens feared human adaptability, then that fear was their weakness. She studied the alien closely, asking why it had confessed such a truth. The creature looked at her with tired eyes and answered, "Because I have seen enough to know the outcome. You will suffer, but you will not kneel. And that will destroy us." Marcus leaned closer, his voice sharp. "Then help us fight them." The alien shook its head slowly. "I cannot. My loyalty remains with my kind. But you do not need me. You already know what to do." With those words it fell silent again, refusing to speak further. Outside the base the world was hearing fragments of the same secret. Somehow the story of the alien's confession had leaked. People whispered in shelters and shouted in the streets, "The aliens fear us. They know we are dangerous." The rumor spread like wildfire, stronger than any official broadcast. It was no longer just resistance fighters who believed in victory. Now entire communities were united by the thought that humanity could not only survive, but win. In ruined cities survivors painted words on walls, "They fear US." In refugee camps children repeated the phrase as if it was a prayer. For the first time since the invasion began, hope outweighed fear. The aliens noticed the change. Their leaders grew restless as they studied human behavior. They had unleashed terror, destroyed cities, poisoned rivers, but the humans only grew more stubborn. They fought harder after every loss, and their unity grew where division once lived. The alien fleet's commander held council with his officers. One warned that the longer the war lasted, the stronger the humans would become. Another argued that extermination was the only solution. The commander's eyes burned with rage, but deep inside he knew his officers spoke the truth. The humans were unlike any foe the Empire had faced. On Earth Marcus and Dr. Elena worked with other leaders to prepare for one final battle. They knew the retaliation had weakened the resistance but also given them priceless knowledge. They had studied alien drones, cracked pieces of their codes, and learned how to interfere with their weapons. Every new attack only taught humanity more. Marcus gave a speech broadcast through hidden channels, his voice firm and unshaken. "The aliens believed fear would rule us. But they have made a mistake. They fear us now. And fear is the beginning of defeat." His words echoed across the resistance, filling fighters with renewed determination. Meanwhile Dr. Elena pushed deeper into the alien technology. She discovered that their fleet's power relied on a central core hidden within the flagship. If that core was disrupted, the entire fleet could collapse. It was almost impossible to reach, guarded by layers of weapons and shields, but it was a target. She showed her findings to Marcus, her eyes blazing with excitement. "This is it. If we can reach the core, we can win." Marcus placed his hand on her shoulder and nodded. "Then we will reach it." The plan for the final desperate attack began to form. As preparations grew, more reports arrived of aliens defecting. Small numbers of their soldiers abandoned their posts, disgusted by the slaughter. Some even approached humans secretly, offering information in exchange for mercy. It was proof that fear was spreading inside the alien fleet as well. Humanity's defiance was breaking their unity. Night fell across the planet, and in every corner people prepared for the unknown. Some sharpened weapons, some whispered prayers, others simply held their loved ones close. The world knew that the next strike would decide everything. Either Earth would be destroyed, or the alien fleet would retreat in shame. In the underground base Marcus looked once more at the captured alien. It sat silently in its restraints, eyes dim, But before Marcus turned away, it spoke one last time. When you win, others will come. Your victory will echo, and the galaxy will notice. Be ready, human, for your kind will never be hidden again. The words lingered in Marcus's mind as he walked to the command room. Humanity was standing at the edge of history. They were wounded, scarred, and exhausted, but they were also united, burning with a fire no invader could extinguish. The secret had been revealed. The aliens feared humanity, and that fear would be turned into a weapon. Above, the alien fleet glowed in the night sky, preparing its final strike. Below, humanity sharpened its resolve, ready to rise for one last fight. The countdown to the final battle had begun. The world held its breath as the last dawn rose over a planet scarred by fire and war. Cities lay in ruins, rivers were poisoned, and millions had been lost, yet the human spirit burned hotter than ever before. In the underground command room, Marcus stood before the resistance fighters, his face grim but determined. Dr. Elena was beside him, her hands shaking slightly as she held the data showing the weakness of the alien fleet. Around them, soldiers, scientists, and ordinary citizens turned fighters waited for orders. The plan was madness, but it was the only chance humanity had. The flagship that hovered above Earth controlled the alien fleet through a central core, a living machine that pulsed with alien energy. If it was destroyed, the Empire's control would collapse, and their fleet would fall into chaos. The risk was almost certain death, but death was already promised if they did nothing. Marcus spoke loudly so everyone could hear. The Zorith gave us one choice, surrender or die. But we gave them another choice, fear us or fall. Today we make them fall. The fighters roared in response, their voices echoing through the cavern like thunder. Above the planet, the alien fleet was preparing for its final strike, their weapons charging with power that could erase entire continents. They believed humanity was beaten, that the resistance was broken, but they did not understand the fury of a species with nothing left to lose. Hidden bases all over Earth activated at once, launching stolen alien drones turned against their masters, missiles built from scraps of destroyed cities, and fighter jets carrying bombs laced with stolen alien energy. For the first time, the fleet staggered under the weight of human fire. Their perfect formations broke apart as explosions ripped through their smaller ships. Inside the flagship, the alien commander snarled in rage. He had warned his council that the humans would not surrender, that their stubbornness was dangerous, but even he had not expected this scale of resistance. His officers reported chaos. The humans were inside their systems, jamming signals, twisting codes, even turning captured weapons against them. The invasion had become a mirror, every strike against Earth teaching humans how to strike back harder. The commander ordered the flagship's core to be sealed, but it was already too late. Marcus and his team were aboard a stolen alien shuttle racing toward the giant vessel, slipping through the battle as fighters shielded them with their own lives. Explosions lit the sky, a dance of fire and light above the broken world. The shuttle shook as enemy blasts struck near, alarms screamed, but Marcus held the controls steady. Dr. Elena's eyes were locked on the core's coordinates glowing on the screen. "Just a little further," she whispered. The shuttle pierced through the flagship's outer defenses and slammed into its hull. The team stormed inside, weapons ready, fighting through alien corridors glowing with blue light. The air smelled of metal and ozone, and the walls pulsed as if alive. Alien soldiers came at them in waves, their weapons deadly, but the humans fought with desperate fury, every bullet and every strike carrying the weight of billions of lives. Step by step they pushed deeper until the chamber of the core opened before them. It was a vast room with a sphere of energy floating in the center, glowing like a dark sun. The power of the entire fleet pulsed within it. Dr. Elena stared in awe. "That's it. If we destroy it, everything ends." Marcus nodded, raising the explosive device built from stolen alien tech. As he moved forward, the alien commander himself appeared, towering and furious, his red eyes burning like fire. He had come to defend the heart of his fleet. His voice thundered across the chamber. "You think your defiance will save you? You are insects against a storm. Your world will burn." Marcus tightened his grip on his rifle, his voice cold. Maybe we are insects. But even insects can kill a giant. The battle that followed was brutal. The commander fought with strength beyond human limits, his strikes shaking the walls, his weapon cutting through metal like paper. Soldiers fell one by one, but Marcus stood firm, dodging, firing, refusing to bow. Dr. Elena rushed toward the core, carrying the device, but the commander blocked her path. With a roar, Marcus threw himself at the alien leader, tackling him with all his strength. They crashed against the wall, both struggling, both bleeding, but Marcus refused to let go. "Do it now," he shouted. Elena placed the device at the base of the core, her hands trembling as she armed it. The core pulsed violently, sensing danger, its light turning crimson. The commander realized too late what was happening. He roared in fury, throwing Marcus aside and lunging at Elena. But Marcus rose again, using his last strength to fire his weapon point-blank into the alien's chest. The commander staggered, stunned, and in that moment Elena activated the device. A blinding light filled the chamber as the core began to collapse, sucking energy inward like a black hole. Alarms screamed across the flagship, alien voices shouted in panic, and outside the fleet shuddered as their power began to die. Marcus grabbed Elena's arm, dragging her back toward the shuttle. "We have to go." The team ran as the ship shook violently, corridors collapsing around them. They barely made it into the shuttle as fire consumed the flagship. With a final explosion, the core imploded, ripping the massive vessel apart. Across the sky, the alien fleet lost control. Ships crashed into each other, weapons fell silent, and chaos spread like wildfire. Some ships exploded, others fled in panic, scattering into the darkness of space. Earth watched as the once invincible armada crumbled before their eyes. In cities across the planet, survivors cheered, their voices rising above the ruins. "We are free. Humanity stands." Marcus and Elena's shuttle landed back on Earth, battered but alive. Soldiers carried them out, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. The resistance had done the impossible. The ultimatum of surrender or die had backfired, and the Empire's arrogance had led to its downfall. Humanity had shown the galaxy a truth no one could ignore. They were not weak, they were not prey, they were survivors, fighters, and now victors. As the sun rose over the ruined Earth, its light touched faces scarred by war but burning with hope. People hugged, cried, and celebrated together. For the first time since the arrival, the world felt united. Yet Marcus remembered the aliens' warning, that others would come, that victory would draw attention from across the stars. He stood with Elena, watching the sky where the last fragments of the alien fleet burned. "This is not the end," he said quietly. Elena nodded, her eyes filled with both fear and determination. "No. This is the beginning." Humanity had survived the impossible. They had turned fear into strength, despair into defiance, and death into victory. The galaxy would soon learn the same lesson the Zorith had learned too late. Humanity was not to be conquered. Humanity was to be feared.